Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you. It's good to be here.
It's really awesome to have you on. I've been really excited about this one.
Yeah.
So let's.
Yeah, well, it was nice to meet you the other day in person. So we've kind of established some lovely ground rules and meeting each other. So yeah, I'm ready to dive in.
Definitely, it's really good to do that as well. It's just especially when it comes to interacting with established brands, it's just good for everyone to know what they're getting into, because it's, yeah, you got to think about it beyond yourself, and it's like, is this going to look good for the brand? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Definitely. So I really appreciate you coming down and having that little in-person meet and greet as well, which is...
Yeah, it's nice to see you, Jim, and it's beautiful to see that you've got a really poignant place in the little community that you're in, and that you're touching people on the ground floor.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
So homegrown. Tell us about
that. So my partner Martin and I had been eating keto for a number of years, and some friends of ours said, why don't you try eliminating all the plants out of your diet and see what happens? And so we did that, and I haven't looked back. It's probably took me 2 years to sort of get into the whole changing my metabolism and using fat as a fuel a whole lot more intensely. But it's just been a game changer on so many levels. It's been a game changer initially with nutrition. And then the other aspect that's really making itself clear to me now is that it's really on the edge of human evolution, of the change of human evolution. I feel like because I've been on the fringe of nutrition, just animal-based, I now feel like I'm on the fringe of the way humans are evolving. And I really feel that I'm on the right path as far as how the human species is evolving into the next 100 years. So I'm really excited about that.
It's really cool. It's really cool. It's something that seems to be very consistent across the board when you speak to people that are doing a primal carnivore ancestral diet, is that it feels it's different to everything else, right? Like you can follow a keto diet, paleo diet, obviously some people follow like a plant-based diet, and it just feels like a nutritional kind of rabbit hole that you're going down. Whereas, and I've tried them all over the years, every kind of like yeah, like I feel like people that are interested in this have tried all of them, because it's just trying to find out what makes you thrive as an individual.
Absolutely.
And nothing's hit the way that the carnivore diet does.
I feel like I've dropped right back into my primal animal body again. Like I've got full nutrition, and I'm optimal. Like I'm thriving. I'm in the last part of my life. I'm 61, and I feel incredibly vibrant and alive at this time of my life now.
Yeah, just something that, especially like now and in the present day, isn't something that's very common. People when they're getting on, they're starting to wind down, and you find so many people have just so many issues that are related to their nutrition. They're starting to get a lot of fatigue, chronic fatigue at that, and illnesses just slowly working their way in. And yeah, nutrition's the key to preventing all of that, right?
Absolutely. Nutrition, and with that sort of gateway, using the animal-based diet as a gateway into living and thriving more extensively and expansively, it's freaking amazing. I don't know anyone who's my age who has no body pain, who has no inflammation, and who's got the right weight,
Yeah.
And I feel like we're just paving the way for the rest of our people to follow. It is pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's definitely like the reduction in inflammation is huge. I think that was the thing that I noticed first, because it would have been November last year that I started. And yeah, like I've had quite a few issues with my knees and my shoulders, just that they get, with the amount of training that I do, they tend to get really tight and uncomfortable, and they'll have days where I've got to spend a long time just moving them in preparation for moving them, and also get really a bad like dry skin on my knees as well. Whereas I found that after come like the end of December, I noticed that I didn't have any more pain in my knees or my shoulders. My knees used to like always audibly crack, and that doesn't happen anymore. And all of like the dry skin from my knees is for the most part gone. And that's never happened following any other kind of nutritional pathway or taking any medications, anything at all. It's always just been there. And the carnivore lifestyle was the only thing that's happened recently that could have impacted it, and it's been huge. It's
I think skin issues are have been put down to an autoimmune disease, autoimmune issue. So sort of getting down to the root cause of why, and like we don't know this. We've been used to slapping creams on and taking steroids to eliminate the symptoms that we get. But no one has ever gone, it's actually what you're putting into your body. It's all about gut inflammation and the leakiness of the gut that creates all sorts of problems in the body, whether it's external on the skin or whether it's internal, from the brain to the gut, to the joints.
And it's very important to do it right, like and that's where you just come into it, right, of making because I find a lot of people that get involved with carnivore and they're not getting the organ meats in. They're just going purely for muscle meat, and those tend to be the people that struggle a little bit. Naturally, there's some outliers that do seem fine that way, but anyone I talk to that starts to drop off, it's because they're avoiding that. And I guess you're making that far more palatable and accessible for people.
Yeah. I think the theory behind eating nose to tail is what we have done as an indigenous species for ever since we started, walking and using our brains a little bit more. And we kind of lost the fact that eating the organ meat's really key, because it's now been sort of relegated into the pet food shelves.
Yeah.
And the animals have more nutrition than us. Can I just hold you just for a second?
Yep.
Thank you.
It's all good.
I've got a very loud mouse in the corner and he's putting me off my flow.
That's so good. It's so good.
We. That's right, pet food. So you go to any supermarket and try and find things that are really important for our nutrition, and liver and hearts, and what else do they have? Tripe sometimes, and kidneys. And they're very hard to find in some supermarkets or butchers unless you ask them personally, this is what I need. So being able to access those nutritions through our product, which is frozen raw and milled and put into capsules, it's just a no-brainer, really. Because I don't have to think about it. I do it every morning, and I know that I'm getting all my vitamin B, my nutrition, because animal organs are the only ones, or animal food is the only one that has vitamin D in it, and choline, which is really important as well for gut health, and all the other minerals like copper and selenium and zinc, all those things that people have sort of been throwing around in the ether for a while. You've got to have this in your diet to be really healthy and sort of get rid of, make sure that your immunity is really strong for whatever's going on in the world at the moment. And it's there in our beautiful animal organs, and it's just such a blessing. It's such a blessing to be able to do that.
Yeah, and it seems that it's only fairly recently that it's become hard to get those kind of foods. Like, I often remember talking to my grandparents and people of their generation, and they would be having a lot of organ meats. They were very nose to tail at the time. They didn't, kind of coming off of that like World War II generation where you've gone through the rationing and everything, there was no wastage. Whereas now, as you said, like, people are quick to just hand it off and turn it into pet food and focus just on the muscle meat.
The pet food industry is massive in New Zealand.
Yeah.
Huge. And a lot of it, a number of Chinese pet food companies have bought big companies here. So there's a lot of sort of political dialogue around the organs and so we buy our organ supplements, our organ raw product at the same price that the pet food people buy there's,
Yeah.
it's the same product. And I just think it's a tragedy that all this beautiful organ meat is given to pets.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sort of, our imbalance is wrong. And getting back to the post World War II and nutrition, I don't know whether they realised that it was so nutrient dense, but again, their philosophy around not having any wastage was huge. And how creative were they with their different meals and what they did with all the different organs that were available. Yeah,
Definitely.
amazing.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So at what point during your own kind of nutritional journey and going down the carnivore rabbit hole, at what point did you decide that you were going to start homegrown? When was it?
Okay, so we sort of followed people like Paul Saladino and Sean Baker. So they're big carnivores. They're big voices in the carnivore field in the States, and realised it's really important through their information that we needed to eat nose to tail. So we did, and to find the organ supplements New Zealand grass-fed was for us to go to the States and import our beautiful New Zealand grass-fed organs back. And like I'm a total greenie. I do not like using my car. I don't like the carbon footprint that these organ meats that have been made in New Zealand, gone across the States, and come back here. It just didn't seem right to me. So I did a bit of research and found that there are a number of labs in New Zealand that do freeze dry organs for the American market. And we just sort of bounced into that market, and we were able to create really good relationships with some of the companies that are doing that. So that was our initial toes in the water experience. And from there, we have now created a relationship with a company called First Light Foods. So they do a lot of, they cross the Wagyu over the dairy cow for quite a fatty meat. And it's all grass-fed and regenerative farmed, and all theirs goes to California. So we're now sourcing our raw product from farms in New Zealand that are 100% regenerative, and the company that stands behind them is a really, really a company with amazing integrity in the marketplace. So that's where we are now. We've created this relationship. We're buying our product raw and freeze drying it here in Christchurch and encapsulating it and sending it only to New Zealand and Australia at the moment. And it seems to be, it just expands and expands, and it's been a really interesting journey. So from having the first initial idea of I want to have organ meats in my diet, I don't want to buy it from America, to now we've got this incredible New Zealand company that's just finding its feet in the marketplace and healing so many people. It's amazing. Yeah, so that's us.
That's excellent. That's really cool. A big thing that I took away from that as well, that I think is important for people to realize, is the sustainability aspect of it. Because I think with the amount of people nowadays that are championing the plant-based nutrition and how that seems to be the way that a lot of people are going, people look at this kind of diet, carnivore style of things, as being wasteful, I guess, because naturally animals are killed in the process to fuel it, and people just have such a closed-minded and negative view of that we have no real regard for the planet, and that we're the bad guys. Essentially, we're on the losing team, and it's not the case. It's the whole nose to tail process is actually making full use of the animal and doing it in an ethical way, especially if people are partnering it up with hunting and eating in that same kind of manner. Then it's pure, it's natural, it's what we're meant to do as humans. And I don't think enough people realize that. So it's, that sustainable aspect, it's really important. It's huge. It's really cool for you to say that. Yeah.
I think if you're looking into the whole climate change argument also around, the fact that ruminants have been vilified for gas emissions, that it's just, the narrative is just so falsely skewed towards killing our industry and stopping the fact that the ruminants in the cycle, so key to maintaining our carbon sequestering and maintaining a beautiful environment, that they're so key in the cycle. And if you remove those animals, what do you replace it with? You probably replace the food with more crops, more tilling, more opening the carbon up to losing it into the atmosphere. That the narrative is that the narrative of removing cattle out of the cycle is so wrong. It's so wrong because it affects our microbiome, it affects our gut, it's an ongoing problem. And my prayer is that we all slowly wake up, or fast wake up, to the fact that we need that little piece of the puzzle, the ruminant animals, the cattle, to maintain the circle of life here. They've been on the planet longer than humans have been, and all of a sudden they're vilified and put in the naughty corner because they fart or burp. It's just, it doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, it's pretty insane, especially like a lot of it is just nonsense. The whole argument that they put forth of like the farting, burping of the cattle, it's a carbon neutral process. It gets taken back up into the atmosphere, it gets up in the grass, the cows eat the grass, and they're really championing something that's a whole lot of nothing. And the way that they approach monocrop agriculture is just so detrimental to the environment. It's getting rid of the cattle and doubling down on farming crops is destroying the soil, is destroying the environment that's being cleared to make space for it. And I don't think a lot of people realize that you can't just grow things anywhere. Like, you need very specific ground to grow certain things. And cattle help with that. Like, we produce way better quality of fruits and vegetables on the earth that's like lived on, rather than just having combines running over the top of it, churning it up all of the time.
I sort of liken it to a beautiful symphony. When we hear music that's been beautifully collaboratively put together and it opens our heart and makes us sing, that to me is the whole life cycle of regenerative agriculture. It's designed to nurture the planet and create a massive, great big humus layer in the soil, so that all the microbiome's fed and the cattle are healthy, the people who are eating the cattle are healthy. The life cycle's a symphony. And I want to be in the symphony. I want to be part of that beautiful creation that's available to us. Yeah. I don't want to be on the other side.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. It's all about balance, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's education, because if you think about a conversation that you could possibly have with someone who's really plant-based, what would their conversation be? And my question would be, are you thriving? And do you have any body pain? And what's your gut like? And if they respond in a negative way, then it's an opportunity to step in and offer a different way of living and eating that they probably haven't even thought about before, because the masses think this way, and that's cool if you find yourself thriving. But what about if we stepped away from the mainstream and stepped into a different way of thinking and living and eating and feeding ourselves? What would that be like? How would you change? How would your attitude change? You don't know. If you're standing on this side, you don't know what the other people are thinking. You think you're right. So my invitation is to everybody is to do something different for a month and see what it's like. See what happens to your internal workings, to your understanding, to your passion. And I was listening to a podcast this morning. It's just brought to mind that it was one of Paul Saladino's, who was talking about people who, the majority, 91% of people don't ever change their behaviour. So even when they're unwell, they might reduce their behaviour, but they're still going in that trajectory. A very small percentage of people go, okay, I'm going to completely change my behaviour and see what it's like. Because I think it comes down to we like being comfortable. The human body, the human animal likes comfort. We like warm. It's all very easy to be comfortable these days. But if you step outside your comfort zone and try something different, that might be a little bit uncomfortable. It might be not what the normal people are doing or what those people over there have come from are doing, but wow, it's like opening the door to a completely new way of living. I rant, man. I do rant a bit.
No, I love it. I love it. And it is challenging that narrative. But yeah, as you said, people they really just double down on things and don't want to move. And I always look at when I talk to people about it, I always think that I'm coming from a really open-ended side of it, because I spent 2 years following like a pretty dedicated like plant-based diet and was fully immersed in that. And as I said before, I've tried all the other things. So I would think that if I was talking to someone that was pretty deep-rooted into being a vegan or anything similar to that, and I could turn around and be like, well, I've done that. I've been like firmly on your team, and now I'm on this end of the spectrum, and let me tell you that life is better than it's ever been, that they would put a bit of stock in that and be like, oh, okay, I'll try that. But I find that it just, people put that barrier up, and once it becomes, I think for a lot of people, it's identity, right? And they get to that point where they feel like they've shaped too much of their character around something and become too invested in it that they don't want to compromise on themselves. So they're just, even if they can see that you're right, that you have like the results to back up what you're saying, a lot of people just turn on the blinders to it. And it's just constantly just chipping away at it. And if you get one person on board that's like, yeah, we'll give it a go, that's a huge one.
And then you get the results from there. I'm giving it a go, and just being a little bit like changing your diet a little bit, then, and you're getting a little bit of a change, and then I don't know, maybe the door opens just a little bit, and you're going, oh, what is down there? What is that like? And how could I respond?
Yeah.
I just have to tell my mouse to be quiet again.
That's all good.
It's been a busy morning. We had the courier and we had mum counting pots.
Yeah, I'm sure you're pretty full on with the amount of orders that you must be doing.
Well, it's still only a 2-man business, which is fine. It's just I just don't want to grow too quickly and not be able to fulfill orders.
Yeah.
So the back end with making sure that we've got enough product to put into capsules is where Homegrown Primal is this year.
Yeah.
Because I just don't like running out of product. People get really upset.
Yeah, definitely. While we're on that, do you want to dive in a little bit to the products that you offer?
So we have just released our first sort of therapeutic one, and that is I don't know whether it's back to front. This is thyroid and liver. I've had a lot of people say I've got a sluggish thyroid, or I've got Hashimoto's, and I'm taking synthetic thyroxine, but I would like to be able to take an animal thyroid. And the pig thyroid is one that's been really popular for people. Now, I'm no dietitian, I'm no doctor, and I'm no scientist. So we have a very small amount of thyroid in here, but most of it is liver. And my understanding is that with people who are supplementing their diet with thyroid product, they will know how much to take. So that's our new one, and it's pretty exciting. It's just really, really cool.
Cool. I was looking at it yesterday. Yeah, it looks interesting.
Do you know much about sluggish thyroids?
A little bit.
Yeah. It seems to be that there are a lot of people who can't lose a little bit of weight and who find it hard to get out of bed in the morning.
Yeah.
And it comes down to the thyroid that's not working properly. So the idea with organ and gland supplementation is that it's based on the work of Weston A. Price. He studied Indigenous tribes and their teeth, and he looked at the tribes and what they were feeding their people. And so came up with this theory that if you're eating the organ that corresponds to the organ in the body that doesn't work, he had some amazing results. So he was looking at the tribes that fed their people who were unwell with liver and heart and kidney, and he saw that they were really, really improving their whole overall health. So that's where the glandular therapy sort of comes from. And there's a bit online if you Google glandular therapy. So this one is the brain. So this is one of our first products that we ever started using. And I've got some beautiful stories of people who've had brain injuries who are on this brain tissue. So it's calf brain. And so any of the organs that we use are all third-party tested. So there's nothing in here that's dangerous to us. All it is really, really good animal tissue. And because we're animals, it's the same, it's mammalian tissue that works synchronistically with each other. So this is really high in omega-3, so DHA and EPA, which are really essential for our brain health. And I take this every day, and I have not noticed any, so I have no brain fog. My recollection has just got better and better and better. I can read scientific articles and regurgitate the information. I was never like that when I was younger. So Ignition, that's awesome. Our two big sellers are Boost, which is our liver. So that's the one that's sort of our foundational product. It's got all the vitamins and minerals in it that you need for supplementing. If you're a vegetarian and you're feeling a bit tired, this is the one that you take. Don't tell anybody though, because it's not vegetarian. And the other one is our Thrive Mix, which is 5 big organs. So it's heart, kidney, liver, pancreas, and spleen. So it's sort of really good for immune support and to help regulate your insulin release, as well as heart, liver, and kidney. So it's sort of an overall targeter. So that's really amazing. So we've got about 11 products now, which is incredible, really, when we started out with 2. So I'm quite proud of us.
Yeah, it's a really good range. I've tried Thrive, Boost, and is it Manpower? The other one? Yeah, the 3 of them. And they've been great. I've been, really enjoying them. Can you stack them? Can you take more?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely you can. Because if you think about it, it's just food. It's just food. So a lot of people, I take Ignition. I've started taking the thyroid. I take Thrive. So I'm getting all my B12 and my sort of liver from there as well. And what else am I taking at the moment? Bone marrow. So the bone and marrow is the long bone that's been ground up and frozen. So it's got, and then desiccate, put it into a capsule. So it's got a lot, it's really high in calcium, bone calcium, which is really important. And then the bone marrow's got all sorts of really good cells in it for regeneration. And I had a review from one of our customers who had broken his wrist when he was in his 20s, and he's had pain his whole life. He's I think he's like early 50s now. He's been on bone marrow for a month, and he said his pain's gone. Never in his life has he had no pain in his wrist. And I'm like, that's such a beautiful story. I get really emotional when I get these beautiful stories from people who are like, thank you so much for making this available for me so I can live pain-free. And it's just a simple addition to the diet. Like, I'm just taking bone and marrow, something that my ancestors would have had. You know, we used to eat a lot of marrow.
It's pretty amazing. It's something that I put a lot of stock in, that eating a specific organ is going to carry across to developing you in regards to that organ. It makes sense, you know. It's pretty simple, but it is simple. Yeah, and that's the beauty of it, right? Is the simplicity of just the whole diet as a whole, not just supplementing in this way, but it just makes life a hell of a lot easier.
Yeah, you're right. The other one that I've got here on my desk is Mojo for Women. So this is our most, we're the only company in the world that does this one. I like that's a bit of my claim to fame, is that it's got placenta in it. So placenta has got some really key ingredients in it for regeneration. The woman who sort of first made placenta famous in New Zealand she created placenta facials for women, for overseas, and she's still going really strong with her facial material and she has no wrinkles on her face at all. She's been using this product for 10 years. She's my age. She looks 30 years younger than me. But so we put the placenta inside our capsules along with uterus, uterine tissue, ovaries, spleen, which is really high in iron. It's one of the highest organs in iron, and women generally, especially women who are still menstruating, have generally low iron. And mammary in it as well, which is really good for supporting your breast tissue. And so many beautiful stories of women going, oh, I can't live without that product. Because as women change through their years, they're young and they're fertile, maybe they can't get pregnant. After taking taking a few months of Mojo, they've been able to cycle and get pregnant, which is beautiful. And then at the other end of the woman's life is when she hits premenopause and menopause, and all the hormones are a little bit chaotic, and we kind of get mood swings and depression and all sorts of, and weight gain in the middle here. And Mojo again has really been helping these women get through those symptoms at the other end of their life. So this is a really key product.
Yeah.
I recommend it to every woman except the ones that are pregnant, because of the placenta in it. It's really high in progesterone. So either side of pregnancy, postpartum and lactation, it's beautiful. It's just a lovely, wonderful support. Yeah.
No, I can vouch for that. My partner got that one and she highly rated it. She said that when it came to that time of the month, that it was she just didn't feel the regular up and down that you usually get, and just like a very nice baseline was just very, felt high energy the whole time. And
isn't that beautiful? That's such a lovely, it's such a lovely recommendation, And the thing with Mojo is, the thing with all of them is, it's not like taking anything synthetic where you kind of wait for it to kick in and you can feel it, and the body's got this real visceral response to a supplement. It's so beautifully subtle. You might wake up one morning and go, wow, that was a really interesting period that I just had, because I didn't have any pain, and it surprised me when it came. It must be the Mojo.
Yeah, well, that's it. That's the thing, that across the board I found that it is subtle. And because when I started taking the Manpower one, it was, a couple of weeks that I've been taking it. I was like, is this doing anything? And I was thinking, well, I've been hitting my training pretty damn hard. And every time I come in, I seem to be lifting more weight and moving faster than I was previously. And I haven't taken a day off for any recovery, and I don't feel like I need a day off. And that's it right there. It's not like I'm going to wake up one morning and just be like, holy shit, I feel wired. It's just that every day I feel really good. Yeah. And it's perpetual growth that it's stimulating, and it's great. I love it.
Great. So Manpower has testes, bovine testes in it.
Yeah.
Targets the gland that releases testosterone, which is the one that keeps you firing and keeps you regulated and level, but also with that bit of warrior spirit in it as well, like a fighter.
Yeah.
That's cool.
No, it's great. It's real good. You've got quite a few other gyms that you supply to, yeah?
We up and down the country, they generally, the trainers have their own code for their own people. So I've lost count now, but it's a wonderful product to be able to, as a trainer, to be able to support your people with, especially if you've taken it yourself and you can 100% endorse it.
Yeah.
Because again, the fitness industry is, eliminate meat, take plants, supplement your protein, and all that stuff just doesn't work.
Yeah. There's a lot of bro science in it, and it's something that I'm always telling the people that I coach, is that simplicity is the key. If you're making things unnecessary complex for yourself, you're not going to be able to sustain that. And if you're not looking after your nutrition, it doesn't matter what we do from a fitness sense. You're always skiing uphill at that point, and it's the fuel that you're putting into your body. It's how you're looking after yourself in that regard. That's going to bleed on to everything else that you do. So
again, the question is always, are you thriving with what you're feeding yourself?
Yeah.
Are you training well, and are you getting the results that you wanted to get? Yeah. And if you are, and your red meat consumption is way down, well, that's okay. But if you're not, and most people aren't, I believe.
Consistent across the board. Like, I've got quite a few vegetarians that I train, and they move well, but very prone to fatigue. They'll burn out a lot quicker than other people, and a few of them ends up that they're near anemic through iron deficiency, and it's just get a bit of red meat in you.
Absolutely. Because also, as you start to age and you're not eating enough protein, then you can get quite sarcopenic. So your muscles lose, and we're used to the story that as you get older you start to get sick, and you lose your muscle composition, and it's just not right. We don't need to. We can thrive and be optimal, right through, and have a lovely death at the end of it, with a healthy body. I know I've just had a picture of some of the, sometimes you get on social, and there's this old woman in the gym who's 90, and she's been lifting weights since she was 50, and she's freaking solid, and that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah. Who doesn't want to be that person,
Yeah, exactly. Because we're all going to age. We're all aging. We're all on the way to getting old, and let's just not get sore, and let's maintain our muscle mass. And
I think it's a decision for a lot of people, is that they just get to that point where they're approaching retirement age, and they're like, oh well, start winding down, and things progressively decline. But I think it's when you make that pact with yourself, and you make peace with that's how things are going to be, then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like, I saw a video recently that CrossFit HQ put out, and it was a guy, and I think he was 83 years old, living in the States, and dude was climbing up ropes, throwing kettlebells around, doing like handstand press ups and everything. It's like in his 80s, and it's like you see the majority of people in that 80s that are just
they're like this,
all hunched over, just in the chair all the time, and it's like, I want to be that guy when I'm his age,
and you will be, and I think that that especially in the women's health industry, you hear women who've gone, I'm menopausal, so these are things that's going to happen to me when I hit menopause. I'm going to get fatter, and I'm going to get tired and moody, and like, it's just what we've been told as women. As we get older, that's what's going to happen, but it's not true at all. We can be vital and healthy right through. I want to be able to pick up my grandchildren and throw them in the air, I want to be able to do that sort of stuff.
That's it. It's just thriving rather than surviving. Do you have any products in mind for the future, even anything that's like seems way out there at the moment, but it's kind of on the bucket?
So I think in the beginning of the year I want to make a tallow skincare range, and I've kind of been thinking about it and talking to people about how I can do that, but nothing's actually eventuated. I made some at home and I didn't like what I made. So at the moment we're Homegrown's quite happily sitting with enough products now just to embed itself in the marketplace. But I'd like to be able to put a tallow skincare range in, or even just a moisturizer or something like that we can use instead of the seed oil based skin care that we have on the market everywhere. if we don't start reading labels really clearly and understanding what goes into the products that we put on our body, we're gonna continually getting sicker and sicker with skin disease and skin cancer. And the seed oils are so bad for the body. All those industrial seed oils that were so highly esteemed back in the 70s and the 80s created such a sick human race.
Yeah, it's insane. Like, you look into some of them, like your canola oils and that, and they're primarily like meant to be used for cleaning machinery. Like, that's and lubricating machinery. And here we are.
Yep.
Like, before I got into the fitness industry, I was a chef, and it's, deep fryer just full of canola oil, and everything's like getting, coated in barrels and just in there, and they're just straight poison that you're putting into your body, essentially.
So canola oil is still seen as heart healthy.
Yeah.
So, and one thing that's happened this week is I've read that there is a company in Southland who are trying to fund a oat milk factory and an oat milk industry. And the government's given them $6 million to do that. And that just breaks my heart, because most of the oat milk that we import has seed oil in it, whether it's sunflower, safflower, or canola oil, and it's just poison. It's poison to the body. And if they're going to use oats, I don't know anything about the oat industry in New Zealand. I know that there's a guy that makes whiskey, but the more crops that go into our soils, the more canola oil and seed oil that goes into our food, the sicker our environment's going to get. And it's just heartbreaking.
Definitely. And it seems that, people are thinking the opposite, and that they need to go deeper into, like, I think Whittaker's this week, they're releasing an oat milk chocolate bar, and that's the direction that they're taking things.
I read a review of it, and they said it was awful. So that's good.
That's it.
It's
concerning.
If you've got lactose intolerances, stop drinking milk.
Yeah.
Don't replace it with something that's so toxic that it's not going to do you any good at all. And once you go and you change your diet to animal based, and you do the elimination 2 or 1 or 3 months that you need to do, you may find that if you start, you can incorporate fermented milk products like kefir or yogurt from raw milk, and your body will embrace it rather than having an intolerance to it.
Yeah. But you look at a lot of Asian countries, and they consume a lot of red meat, but don't consume much in the way of dairy products. And for the most part, far healthier than the Western world. Hong Kong has the highest consumption of red meat in the world at the moment, I believe, and they're like first or second in terms of life expectancy. Yeah.
It's logical. That's what we've evolved on.
Yeah.
It's animal products.
Yeah. It's just purer as well. That's why I try and buy all of my meat from the butchers as well, because you want it to be it's had as little process as possible. Like, otherwise you do just end up with food that's full of the seed oils, full of preservatives, and you look at the back of some things and you read the recipe about the ingredient list, and it's just, there's so much there, and you don't know what half of it means. Like 10 things are just different names for sugars, and it's insane. So now I just do the whole support local, hit the butchers, I know what I'm getting, and
I'm totally on that with you. I think if we're buying products that have got an ingredient list, then don't buy it and get rid of it. Don't go for meat from the butcher or meat from the supermarket, because our grass-fed meat, and especially in Christchurch, there's an abattoir butchery called Harris Meats, and they're based in North Canterbury. Okay. So they're really high ethical company, and so I noticed that even in my local supermarket, they're now selling Harris Meats products. So talk to the butcher in the supermarket, because I know that Yeah, even Pack and Save in Riccarton, they have a really good butchery department and they source their meat well. And talk to the butchers because they love talking about their meat.
Yeah.
Yeah, and buy local fruit. At the moment, it's winter in Christchurch, so there's no fruit. There's no fruit on the trees unless there's a bit of citrus. But I don't eat fruit this time of year because it's not available.
Mm. So do you follow yourself kind of similar to what Paul Saladino does, where it's majority is animal products and then a little bit of fruit, a bit of honey, all that kind of stuff?
He lives in Costa Rica, which is in the right on the equator, so he's got lots of fruit. And here we don't have any fruit at the moment because it's winter time. And I just eat eggs and cheese and slow cooked meats, and that's about it. I think my only downfall is coffee.
Yeah, same. I know that you're not meant to have it, but I'm 100% addicted to it. So
there are some benefits to coffee anyway. So as long as I don't have too many cups a day, I'm okay. And I don't have milk either. I generally have cream in my coffee. So yeah, very simple. And every now and then I'll break out and have an organic pastry, and I feel really, really bad. But most of the time I'm pretty good with my food.
Yeah, I mean, it's balance, right? And there's the live a little type thing. Like, yeah, 90% of the time I'm pretty onto it, but every night, like, you know, if I'm going out with my partner, like, we'll have an ice cream or something like that, you know, we'll treat ourselves. And that's what it's there for, right? It's just there to be a treat. It's when it becomes an everyday kind of thing, that's when the wheels have fallen off. And I think
the wheels have really fallen off.
yeah, and I think that's when it works, you know, when it's like every day I'm having, like, pretty much every day I'm just having steak and eggs, near enough. I'll have avocado sometimes, but for the most part it's just steak and eggs and your sups. And then treat myself on a weekend if it's been a big week, or if I'm doing something, then grab an ice cream or something like that, and I feel good. It's
you can tell the people who are, you know, if you look sort of at the population, you tell the ones who are working out, who are eating well, because they've got this little sparkle about them, and they, I don't know, carry themselves a lot taller than most, and you know, they've got this beautiful, strong physique about them. And it's like, this is the way we were in the old, you know, when we were tribal. The men were strong and the women supported each other and looked after the babies, and they were strong as well. It's like, what went wrong?
Yeah, that's it. People very often, like, will come into the gym and they're kind of like, oh, you're nuts, like the way that everyone's like in shape and moving well, they're doing all like weightlifting and gymnastics and everything, and you get looked at like you're some kind of crazy outlier, and you're like, this is how we're meant to be. Like, we're just smart apes, you know, we're supposed to be hanging from bars and picking things up and throwing it around. It's
exactly,
it's how we do, you know, it's what got us here. We're not meant to be getting sick at like 30 years old. You shouldn't have chronic fatigue and pain throughout your whole body. It's, you know, it's not the way of it.
No, not at all. So my mission is to educate more people, just like your mission is, and to encourage people to reproduce and have intelligent humans and like look after our future race. That's what I really feel passionate about, helping, guiding and nurturing people into the best lifestyle they can have, the best relationships they can have in their ongoing family.
That's excellent. It seems that you're well on the way, and you know, achieving
trying.
Yeah, right. What's so, like, growth wise, planning on expanding it beyond a 2-man operation, or
I'd like to see homegrown just continue to grow organically. Just to meet the needs of people, and as more people are waking up to nutrition and what they need to fuel themselves with, we're going to fit really nicely in the marketplace. And I do believe that people, especially post-COVID and all the drama that's going on in the world now, where people are getting reinfected and they're having lots of flu and gastro bugs and stuff, it's really important that we sit in the marketplace and offer help and a solution. And you're the same, just to be able to talk to people who are suffering from ongoing flu and talk about their diet, because it's all diet related. So if we can help with people's immunity and health status, then I'm right there. So, and homegrown's there just to grow organically.
Excellent. You have definitely come into a great time, because there isn't really any other competition, and these are, like I've spoken to a few people that use your products, and I feel like it's just the kind of thing that is just going to organically grow. So
it's beautiful. I honestly feel so blessed that we've been given this opportunity to create a product that's just incredible.
That's it, right? It's that whole kind of pursuit of purpose. You kind of come into something and you're like, this is where I was meant to be. And it feels very rewarding every time you get a success story, every time you have that clear indication that we're doing the right thing.
Yeah, exactly. And you must feel that way too in the fitness industry.
Oh yeah.
And part of our the essential things for is that humans, we need healing, inspiration, and connection. Only three. And so we're both in the market where we're healing, inspiring, and connecting with people, and us too over here, healing, inspiring, and connecting with people. And it's beautiful. It ticks all the human boxes.
It's a very, very human experience. Yeah.
Well, we are.
Yeah.
Very human.
Yeah. It's awesome. It's awesome. No, I love it. Well, that pretty much answers all of the questions that I had for you. Yes.
I've had a lovely time talking to you, and I do rant because I feel like this is, getting on a podcast and spreading the word is really essential for. It just fires me up. I love it, and if the more people can hear the message, the better.
Yeah, definitely. No, it's excellent to just get it out there and grow the winning team, essentially. Yeah. So before we go, for anyone that wants to buy your products, do you have a website or anything like that address?
Yes. So homegrownprimal.co.nz is where everyone goes to order our product. It's a Shopify site, so it sits apart from Gmail, and it tends to do its own thing, which is really quite cool. We're on Instagram, Homegrown Primal NZ, and we're also on Facebook at Homegrown Primal. So, and I'm always answering emails, so I'm available for anyone who wants to chat. Love talking to people. So, yeah.
Excellent. Too good. And one last question, which is kind of unintentionally become a really just niche question that I have to ask everyone on the podcast now. It was started by my first guest, and now I have to run with it. What's your favorite kind of pie? Because this is everyone's
my favorite pie.
Yeah.
Oh God. So I can start talking to you about the bakery down the road that has a huge, great big long line of obese people with their masks on getting bad food. But my go-to, if I want to make a dessert for anybody, I have got some frozen apple in the freezer, and I like to buy this sort of chemical-free pastry from the supermarket, and I can't remember the name of it. So I just put pastry down, put a whole lot of apple in, put lots of butter, put the lid on it, and bake it in the oven, and it's usually a real win-win with my guests.
Excellent. Yeah. I knew you'd have a good answer for that one. Yeah. I was like, what kind of pie is someone that's dedicated to pineapple going to have? And I was like, I've got to ask the question though. Awesome. No, nice. That's great. Well, thanks for this. It's been a real good. I've been looking forward to this all week, and it's great to have you on.
Thank you. It's been lovely to chat, Craig. I've had a really, really nice time with you too. Good to hear. Well, best of luck in continuing to grow the business and expanding. And keep in touch. Yeah, I'll keep buying my products, Yeah. Awesome. Thank you very much. Have a great day. See ya. Bye.